What happens when technical death metal collides with jazz fusion, progressive rock, and cosmic atmosphere? We get Fallujah's new album, Xenotaph. This album is not just heavy, it's a full-blown journey through space, sound, and emotion. But is it one of the best death metal albums of the year? So let's talk about it and find out. So Fallujah, they just released their new album, Xenotaph. It's their latest death metal album. It was released on June 13th, 2025 through Nuclear Blast Records. It's a science fiction-based album inspired by Frank Herbert's Children of Dune and the wider Dune universe. The artwork was done by Peter Moorbacher from the Watchers series, and each song basically acts as a chapter telling a bigger story. The band released an album called Empyrean back in 2022. I remember that it came out. I wasn't able to listen to it back then, but I did some research on the band and I found they went through some lineup changes. Empyrean was the first album with vocalist Kyle Schaefer, bassist Evan Brewer, and guitarist Sam Meridian, alongside original guitarist Scott Carstairs. Drummer Andrew Baird was part of the Empyrean but left afterward. On this new album, Xenotaph, drummer Kevin Alexander replaced Andrew Baird. According to the band, the album was more of a collaborative effort and showcased the full potential of the current members. When we talk about the album now, Xenotaph consists of 8 tracks ranging between 3 and 7 minutes each, with a total runtime of approximately 42 minutes. I was able to listen to it a few times already as I had a promo of it. I enjoyed it upon first listen, but it's the kind of album you might want to listen to a few times before making any judgment because there's a lot going on here. One thing to keep in mind is that this album, we got a lot going on. It's not one of those albums for the casual metal fan. If you're someone who listens to Metallica's Black Album and enjoys catchy, simple songs, this won't be your thing. But if you're a metalhead who enjoys music that blends genres, progressive metal, atmospheric death metal, jazz fusion, tech death, black metal, and even touches of progressive rock, then this might be what you're looking for. Let's talk about the guitars first. The guitar work in the album is incredibly technical and progressive. It's filled with fast, complex, syncopated riffs. I heard influences from bands like Dream Theater, Meshuggah, a little bit of Opeth. A lot of songs include ambient, spacey passages, especially the intros and interludes. Some solos really gave off this Pink Floyd vibe, very David Gilmour-like solos, but then it switches gears into intense tremolo picking, chugging riffs, and high-speed shredding. There's even a Middle Eastern-inspired melody in the track The Obsidian Architect, which gives the album even more depth. Vocally, the same idea applies. There's a lot going on. You'll hear death growls, screams, soft, clean vocals, sometimes all within the same song. For example, in A Parasitic Dream, the vocals are mixed low to create more of this atmospheric effect. But on other songs, styles are constantly shifting. Keeps the listener on their toes and adds a lot of texture to the album. The bass guitar is present in certain spots, but doesn't get buried in the mix at times. In tracks like Kaleidoscopic Waves and Step Through the Portal and Breathe, the bass is more noticeable and even takes on a jazzy melodic feel. Most of the time though, the bass just adds thickness to the overall sound. You can really feel it, helping to build that heavy, immersive atmosphere, especially on a track like A Parasitic Dream. Now the drumming on this album is a real highlight. It's complex, varied, and constantly shifting. You hear everything from blast beats to jazz-influenced syncopation, and the drummer plays in different time signatures throughout. The rhythmic changes help smooth out the transitions between all the different sections in each song. It's impressive, and it really ties everything together. One more thing to point out, the song structures on this album are not traditional. You won't hear your typical verse, chorus, verse formula. These songs flow more organically with lots of movements and tempo changes. The music is very layered and cinematic, and that matches perfectly with the album's sci-fi themes. It's the kind of album that plays like this long journey rather than a bunch of separate tracks. The atmospheric moments really help set the mood. Sometimes things get super technical and intense, then suddenly it all stops and shifts into this peaceful ambient break, even if it's only for a few seconds, but it all serves the bigger picture. Listening to this album, there's a lot to take in. It's not just a typical death metal record that crushes you with riffs. It's about building mood and emotional weight. You get these huge technical sections mixed with calm ambient moments. You can tell the band is really putting an effort into crafting something meaningful and emotional. There's also an incredibly high level of musicianship across the board. Everyone in the band can play at an elite level. You've got polyrhythmic guitar riffs, jazz-influenced bass lines, unpredictable drum patterns. It's all tight and complex. The band clearly takes their craft seriously. And vocally, they're not playing it safe either. There's a wide range of styles, deep gutturals, raspy screams, clean melodic singing, and even spoken passages. Variety matches the complexity of the instrumentation and gives the album a dynamic feel. Plus, songs don't follow a predictable pattern. I've listened to a lot of albums this year that felt formulaic. This one definitely doesn't. It goes from death metal to jazzy interludes without losing its identity. It doesn't feel like a bunch of random parts stuck together. Everything has a purpose. At first, it might sound like a technical death metal album, but with more listens, you start to hear all the other layers. The progressive rock, the jazz, the ambient and black metal influences. It's the kind of album where you discover something new each time. It's also the kind of record that works best as a full album experience. It's not a collection of singles or a playlist of heavy songs. It's meant to be played from front to back. Now, as for potential downsides, the album might be overwhelming for some listeners. Like I said earlier, if you're more of a casual metal fan, you might struggle with the lack of traditional structure. It can be hard to follow on a first listen. Sometimes you can't tell when one song ends and another one begins. Also, the use of the clean vocals could be a turnoff for death metal purists, but for me, they were done tastefully and added to the album. They weren't overused, and they didn't sound whiny like some metalcore bands. The clean vocals leaned more into progressive rock territory. That said, it's not an album you're going to fully understand on your first listen. You'll probably need to sit with it a few times to really appreciate everything it has to offer. Some standout tracks for me were Labyrinth of Stone, which was the second single, has a strong progressive rock feel, and those Gilmour-style guitar solos. I also really liked Step Through the Portal and Breathe, third single. It was complex, had some Dream Theater-style solos that really stood out. And then it was The Obsidian Architect. It wasn't a single, but probably my favorite track on the whole album. It blended Middle Eastern melodies, Pink Floyd-style guitar parts, and some very heavy death metal, all in one track. In conclusion, it's a complex album. Thought it was really well done. I haven't followed Fallujah closely before, so I can't compare it directly to their older work. But from what I've seen and what I've heard, and I know a lot of other people are calling this one of their best albums in a while, so I'll take their word for it. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. It might go up by the end of the month once I sit with it some more, and I'll probably talk about it again in my monthly wrap-up. Let me know in the comments what you thought the album has compared to Fallujah's other work. What were your favorite tracks? If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, I do rock and metal reviews regularly. I've got more coming soon. I'll link another recent album here, and I'll see you in the next one.